Okay, now we are down to our last section, the Il Filibusterismo. And we all know that ito yung sequel ng Noli Me Tangere, yung kasunod ng Noli Me Tangere. So for this time, we're going to discuss kung ano nga ba yung inclusion meron ang El Filibusterismo. So basically, in this section, I'm just going to provide you a summary of Rizal's follow-up novel, Noli Me Tangere, the El Filibusterismo, and of course we're going to focus on his ideologies implicit in the novel, particularly on the continuities and changes in Rizal's ideas in the context of the novel's plot, characters, and events. So in this section, we're going to focus on the importance of the youth in nation building as of course presented in this novel. Okay. So, to counter Noli Me Tangere's hopeful and romantic atmosphere, Rizal followed it up with El Filibusterismo. And of course, he started it writing El Fili in 1888 and finished it in 1899. But just like the fate of Noli Me Tangere, Rizal also had difficulties in the publication of El Fili due to the expensive printing costs. So Rizal had to move to Ghent to look for cheaper ways of printing the book, but still found it too costly. So fortunately, his friend Valentin Ventura offered him financial assistance, which led to the novel's publication in September 1891. Okay. Yun nga, El Fili was much shorter with only 39 chapters compared to Noli Me Tangere, which has 64 chapters. And of course, Rizal gave Ventura the original manuscript of El Fili as a token of gratitude for his contributions to the publication of the novel. Okay, so Rizal used his first novel, Noli Me Tangere, to expose to the Filipinos the abusive ways of the Spanish authorities and friars. Through the characters and plot of the novel, Rizal was able to bring to light the corruption of the Spaniards. And of course, through the different characters in the novel, Rizal provided insights regarding to the condition of the Philippine society under Spanish colonial rule. Also, it was through the experience of these characters that Rizal was able to direct readers into recognizing the ills that plagued the country. Okay. Of course, for instance, Elias, a character whose family suffered from the abuses of the Spaniards and thus took part in the revolutionary struggle, can be considered as a representation of the revolutionary spirit of the Filipinos. And of course, the main antagonist in the novel, Padre Damaso, is the epitome of the hypocrisy and moral corruption of the Spaniards. So particularly, the friars, yan. At the end of the novel, we all know that Rizal challenged the youth in the character of Basilio to recognize their role in the society, of course, as the catalyst of social change. Of course, in El Filibusterismo, nakalagay din dito, Rizal warned Spain that its corrupt and self-seeking colonial government would only lead to disaster, such as what happened to Cabezang Tales and Basilio in the novel. And of course, the novel focuses on the discontent of the youth, led by Basilio, with the condition of the Philippine society. Basilio experienced great loss in both novels. In Noli Me Tangere, he lost his brother Crispin and mother Sisa. Remember? And in El Filibusterismo, he once again lost his two very important individuals in his life, Huli and Kapitan Tiago. Sana naalala nyo. Okay? So there are some analyses. Basilio seemed to represent Rizal in the novel. Furthermore, Rizal also condemned that the elite Filipinos who out of greed, selfishness, complacency, and cowardice toward a blind eye on the abuses of the Spanish authorities as long as it did not affect them. So, kilala niyo ba kung sino tinutukoy doon? Of course, Rizal illustrated this contempt through the characters of Doña Victorina and Paulita Gomez, who preferred to be associated with the wealthy Juanito Pelaez over the poor Isagani. And yan, despite of presenting a narrative that starkly condemned the Spanish rule, Rizal was not asking for revolution to demand immediate independence. Instead, he proposed the tasks of Filipinos was to prepare for eventual independence once they are proven to be worthy and ready for it. It is through education, exemplary lives, and willingness to sacrifice that freedom can be achieved, according to Rizal. And at the end of the novel, Rizal, through Padre Florentino, called on the youth to respond to such challenge. And we all know that today, the two novels remain popular. So the original manuscript of Noli Me Tangere was acquired by the Philippine government in 1911 for only 32,000 pesos from Soledad Rizal de Quintero, and the original manuscript of El Filibusterismo was sold by Valentin Ventura to the Philippine government in 1928 for 10,000 pesos, and both were kept in Manila City Hall for safekeeping. However, the Liberation Battle of 1945 destroyed almost everything in Manila, and that looting and pilferage of historical documents became rampant because of their outstanding monetary value. In 1946, most of the lost documents were returned to the National Library under a no publicity, no question policy arrangement. And through this, the invaluable works of Rizal were safely kept by the National Library in the rare books and manuscript section. In 1961, as the government prepared for the centennial celebration of Rizal's birth anniversary, the original works of Rizal, including Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, of course, the Mi Ultimo Adios, were included in the exhibit as part of the international conference organized by Jose Rizal National Centennial Commission. However, on December 8, 1861, the three works were stolen from the glass-encased locked displayed counter. Upon negotiations, they were returned naman to the National Library on February 9, 1962. Yun, and a few years ago, the original copies of Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo in the possession of the National Library were reported to be decaying. Once more, the cultural treasures were under the threat of being lost forever. Fortunately, the German government offered a conservation project in 2011, just in time for the 150th birth anniversary of our own national hero, Jose Rizal. And that's the end of the discussion for this lesson. I hope you learned something. Thank you for listening.